And welcome back, everyone, to Beyond the Forecast. I hope you all had a wonderful and safe holiday weekend. I am Chief Meteorologist Michael Stevens, and today we're going to take you into more science and weather and explain some things that you might not have thought about that impacts you on a daily basis when it comes to your weather, or maybe something that you knew but didn't know how the science worked with it. We're going to jump into that today. And first up, we're going to send it over to meteorologist John Gross, who's going to break down the summer solstice. It's coming up. But do you know the science behind the summer solstice? He breaks that down for you and what does it mean, what that date means, and what's happening on June 21st. And then we send over to meteorologist Haley Fischetti, who breaks down pet safety as we head into the warmer months, but also what you need to remember for our four-legged friends if you have to evacuate or have severe weather happening, just like you have kits in your safe place when it comes to severe weather or evacuations. You should have those for your four-legged friends as well. And then we'll have a look at our live streaming Beyond the Forecast podcast coming up at the end of the show. So let's jump into some of the fun facts here before we jump into those segments. First up, this day in weather history. This one is crazy. I had no idea about this. On this day, May 27th, 1896, a massive tornado struck St. Louis, Missouri. It killed 306 people and caused $13 million worth of damage, which equates to about $38 million of today's money. The path of the tornado was short, but it was a mile wide as it moved into East St. Louis. Wow. A mile-wide tornado on this day in St. Louis in 1896. It's insane. In fact, it was the worst tornado to date when it struck, but obviously we've had some big tornadoes since then. But there you go. That is this day in weather history. All right, trivia time. On Friday, we asked you, what is the deepest point of Lake Michigan? Is it 925 feet, 1,000 feet, 900 feet, or 985 feet? It's A, 925 feet. Now, I also asked you for extra credit, do you know where this spot is? It's actually in between Manistee and Ludington and about the middle of Lake Michigan. I believe it's southern Chippewa Basin. So South Chippewa Basin. It's right in between Manistee and Ludington, about the middle of the lake. That is where the deepest point of Lake Michigan is, and it's 925 feet. So there you go. Today, we're asking, when does meteorological summer start? Yeah, meteorological summer. When does that start? Is it June 21st, May 15th, June 1st, or July 1st? QR code. Hit that with your phone so you can takes you to where you can answer. Put in your answer, and then we'll answer tomorrow. What is the correct answer? When is meteorological summer? When does it start? And another extra credit question. When's it end? Do you know that one? We'll have the answer for you tomorrow. Viewer photo of the day brought to you as always by Great Rooms. Today's picture comes to us from Simon Dunbar, and it is a beautiful sunset up in the central portions of the UP. Simon sent this in and said, beautiful sunset over the Escanaba River in Gladstone, Michigan. Gladstone's a beautiful town. I love Gladstone. Driven through there several times, and it's just always awe moment, especially when you're driving through and you can see Lake Michigan on the left, and then when you look into town and head north, you're at Lake Superior just a few hours later. So always beautiful to drive through the central portions of the UP. Thank you, Simon, for sending that in, and thank you to Great Rooms for sponsoring viewer photo of the day. Now coming up, we send it over to meteorologist John Gross, who is going to break down the summer solstice for us and basically how that works. Why do seasons happen the way that we see seasons? Well, John's going to have that for you coming up right after the break.
Hey there, everybody. Meteorologist John Gross. Welcome back to Beyond the Forecast. Today, we're going to be talking all about summer and why we see certain seasons at certain times of the year, depending on exactly where you're located. Now, for us here in the Northern Hemisphere, as we are now getting closer to the month of June, when this is recorded, we are getting close to what we call the season of summer. Now, there are two technical seasons. We talk about the one that you see on your phone, your calendar, whatever it might be. That's looking at the astronomical side of things, how the Earth is tilted and the orientation of it from where the sun is. Then we talk about the temperature cycles, otherwise known as the meteorological seasons. So we'll touch on the two, astronomical versus meteorological, but in order to see why we have different seasons, we have to go back to planet Earth and we have to see how it's oriented. Now here it is spinning on its axis, but Earth is actually tilted by about 23.5 degrees. So when those direct rays hit certain parts of the Earth, whether that be the equator, the Tropic of Cancer, or the Tropic of Capricorn, that's how we can get different seasons, different temperature fluctuations, and that's what helps us to see our extreme warmth, our extreme cold, and then those numbers, well, right in between. So here's all four. We're focusing in on the summer solstice, otherwise known as summer, which occurs in June, at least here in the northern hemisphere. You're talking about the autumnal equinox, otherwise known as fall. You're talking about the winter solstice, winter, and then you're talking about the vernal equinox, otherwise known as spring. But for us here again, in the northern hemisphere, we're talking about the summer solstice. Now, it can vary by a few days depending on what year you're talking about, whether it's a normal year or what we call a leap year, but anywhere from June 20th to the 22nd, and especially again here in the northern hemisphere, this is when we're talking about Earth's axis tilted towards the sun. So for us here in the United States, this is the longest day we have as sunlight goes and the shortest night that we will experience here in the northern hemisphere. So once we get past what we call the summer solstice, we actually start to lose the amount of daylight that we see in a typical day. So again, here in the northern hemisphere, at least on the summer solstice, that is the longest day we experience here in the northern hemisphere and the shortest night. But like I mentioned earlier, not only do we have astronomical seasons, we also have what's called meteorological seasons. So those are the colors here, the red, or at least the yellow, the green, and the blue that you see in that little circle in the middle. That's focusing in on temperature cycles. So we're looking at average temperatures over the year. So here we are into late May, June, so we're getting very, very close here to the summer solstice, but as you can see, meteorological summer, once you cross over from that green to the yellow, that's going to be starting right at the beginning of June. So while you technically do see the summer solstice occur anywhere from June 20th to the 22nd, at least in our world, meteorological side of things, our temperatures, those on average are starting to get to their warmest part here, at least into the northern hemisphere. So we look at summer, at least in the weather side of things, starting on June 1st, but anywhere from June 20th to the 22nd, that's when we astronomically see summer start. But regardless, we do have summer coming up here in just a few short weeks. I'm meteorologist John Gross reporting for Beyond the Forecast.
Thanks, John. Now, coming up next, we're going to send it over to meteorologist Haley Fischetti, who is also going to talk to us about pet safety as we approach these warmer months. We'll have that coming up right after the break.
Welcome back to Beyond the Forecast. It's meteorologist Haley Fischetti, and today we're going to talk about pet safety, especially as we head into the summer months and severe weather season. These are just some great tidbits that you guys can have as we get ready for that season. Now, when it gets to really warm temperatures, I know we haven't really felt it recently. Here's just some tips that you should have when we reach those summer temps. Making sure you always have cool water and shade for your dog. If you're out on the beach, making sure you have an umbrella ready for your dog. Cold water, ice cubes. I know my dogs love ice cubes. It's a nice, cool treat that they can have in the summer months as temperatures really start to ramp up. That's going to keep them nice and cool, just like how we want to stay cool when we're outdoors for long periods of time. On top of that, you want to make sure you're feeling the surface that they're on, especially pavement. Going on that afternoon walk, especially when it's those peak temperatures of the day, you want to make sure you're feeling it before you go on that walk. If you don't want to walk on it because it's too hot, then don't let your dogs walk on it. It's going to be very hot out there. Their paws can get raw or even burn themselves. So making sure you feel the pavement. They do make little booties that your dogs could wear. They don't love them, but it is a little safer if that's your only option. Also, making sure that your temperature is okay. I know a lot of us also have indoor or outdoor cats. If temperatures are above 70 for long periods of time, especially during the day, so early morning hours to the afternoon, making sure they're coming indoors, not spending long periods of time outdoors with temperatures like that, because it's just unsafe for them. If you don't want to be out for that long with those temperatures, Neither do they. And then, of course, when they are outdoors for that long, if that happens, make sure they're not overheated. Watching for signs, meaning excessive drooling, if they are panting a lot, if they feel hot themselves, or if they're just not acting like themselves after being outside for long periods of time in the heat, making sure you're contacting your vet immediately, going to the emergency vet hospital, because that could be signs of overheating, which is really, really bad for animals. Now, when we talk about the heat, these are just some of those tips. But we could also talk about some severe weather. Here's some just tidbits that you could have when we start to see some severe weather move into the region. So think of some evacuation tips. A couple weeks ago, now maybe a couple months ago, we talked about some severe weather tips, kits that you could have if severe weather were to hit your area. On top of that, here's just some information that you could have when it comes to your pets. Now, when you have that severe weather kit ready to go, if you have animals, making sure you maybe include a folder with their photo, their physicals, their description, maybe even medical records, that if you happen to get out of contact with your animals, you're able to identify them when the weather event is over. That is going to be really important to keep in your kit. On top of that, also making sure that they have a kit ready to go. We'll have another slide on that in just a second, talking about that. On top of that, when you are getting ready for severe weather, being weather prepared, making sure you have collars that are updated with your information, that if you were to get out of contact with your animals, people who have your animals can get in contact with you. Making sure you have your kits ready to go. And of course, if you do have to evacuate far, calling places that you're staying to make sure they can actually have your animals, making sure they can have your cats or your dogs or really any animals that they can accommodate you and your furry friends. When you evacuate, try to stay together. Sometimes you might want to leave it at your friend's house, but your animals feel the most comfortable with you, and you'll feel the most comfortable with your animals. So taking them with you is going to be really important. Now, here's some items that you could definitely have when it comes to your evacuation kit. Of course, thinking of bowls, something to put your food, cold water in, and very important. Also having some packaged food with you, maybe a few sandwich bags full of food so you can last some storms if you have to seek shelter. Other is just some sanitary supplies, thinking of some of those towels, maybe a pee mat for dogs, collars and tags, of course, grooming supplies. If you're in there for long periods of time, maybe brushing them if they're going to have sharp nails and you're afraid that you might get separated, cutting them beforehand is also very important. Towels and blankets to keep warm, and then documents and records, that should mainly stay with you. If you can, if you have space for it, trying to have your kennel ready to go with you as well. That's where they're going to be the safest and where you will not lose them. For them to feel comfortable, toys and treats, making sure they feel as comfortable as you feel when you are in a severe weather threat, medical aids for yourself and for your pets, as well as a leash, and of course, water for both you and your furry friends. So here's just some tidbits and some facts that you guys could have as we get ready for warm temperatures for the summer months and of course, those severe weather. We'll have more information and more details over on Beyond the Forecast.
Thanks, Haley. Now, coming up next, we're going to send it over to Haley and myself and look at one of our live streaming Beyond the Forecast podcasts. We'll have that coming up right after the break. And welcome back, everyone, to Beyond the Forecast. Now, here at the end of the show is when we usually have a segment of Beyond the Forecast live streaming podcast. Me and meteorologist Haley Fischetti, we sit down and we discuss topics with you, the viewer, live every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Now, the last few weeks, we haven't been live because we have some things going on. If you haven't seen on social media yet or seen some of the promotions that are going around, we are moving the station to Traverse City. So we are going to be doing that here very shortly. And as we are getting closer, we have to prep and do everything in the weather department and make sure everything is going smoothly as we will be up there here very shortly. So we haven't had a live streaming podcast over the last 2 weeks, but we're looking back at some of the live streaming podcasts that we've had. We've shot 7 of these, and we've talked about some great topics. Some of the topics related to the week of explaining science and weather, or just topics that were random throughout the week. And if it's one of those free weeks, we call them, where we don't have a specific topic that we're sticking to, we go to the Beyond the Forecast Facebook page and put 4 topics on there that you can vote on. What do you want to discuss? What would you like to see us talk about and discuss with you? Well, one of those weeks, we were talking about, I believe it was a free week, we were talking about one of those topics that you chose. And we started diving into it, discussing with you live, which we do every Tuesday, 10 a.m., and we're going to continue to pick up, but you can find all of those on the 910 News YouTube channel, as well as the Beyond the Forecast Facebook page, and also wherever you take in podcasts. But here's a segment from that, give you an idea of what we do every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Check it out.
That is a very real fear.
Yeah.
And what did Twister do? Twister played into that very real fear.
Yeah, exactly.
And it does happen, but it does not happen nearly as much as you think.
It doesn't. And severe weather outbreaks at night do die very fast because, yes, it is warmer overnight, but it is not warm enough to keep them steady.
Right.
But it is something like you even see the national meteorologists and the Weather Channel like cause more of a concern when things are put at night because it is just
you can't see.
You can't see, and we get those awesome pictures of severe weather setups in the skies. You can actually see like sometimes the updraft moving in to form a tornado. And that's like huge for just like people to know if something is brewing.
Right.
When it's night, you can't see the clouds to know if something's starting to rotate or not. And that's scary.
And then you start getting those pictures where there's lightning in the background, you see a funnel.
Yeah.
And that's nightmare fuel.
Right.
Because you can't see it. All you have to go on is what you can hear.
And just trust and find safety.
Yeah. And that is a big thing, yeah. I mean that boils down to the whole safety part. I mean, but that's the other thing with Tornado Alley. Majority of Tornado Alley doesn't have basements.
No.
Those areas can't have basements.
Yeah.
You know, so that is one thing that we do have up here in a ton of most basements.
Exactly.
But our topography allow for it, unless you're on a lake and sometimes you can't have basements. But
right.
In the plain states, they can't have basements.
No.
They don't have basements. They have mini shelters in the garage. But yeah, so that's kind of the Tornado Alley look at things and how it's moving east. It's not necessarily moving. It's expanding.
It's expanding.
They still see the same amount of tornadoes and outbreaks in the Central Plains. The problem is now we're seeing more outbreaks and more east of the Mississippi River.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. It's not so much the per se of moving. It is just expanding now.
And it makes sense when you do the science and maths because everything points to it.
I would say we talk about it all the time. I think that a constant theme we can say in this podcast is how we keep on talking about how things are getting warmer and how our weather's getting more extreme. And I think in this way, while it's not like we're seeing an increase of EF5 tornadoes, we're seeing an increase of just tornadoes in general in more of an area.
Right. And that would be boiling down to mesoscale.
Yeah.
If you guys want to take science class with us.
Junior year of college, if you want to take it with us.
I took it my freshman year.
And you still stayed in this degree?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was freshman or sophomore. They only offered it every 2-3 years.
Got it.
So I had to take it.
Got it.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'd miss the bus.
That would do it.
So yeah, I took it, and it might have been a little over my head, but it made sense.
I mean, that means you're right in the right gig, though.
Yeah, if it made sense to me, I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Physics.
Yeah, that was a junior year class for me.
Yeah, I think it was other freshman, maybe it was sophomore. Because they offered astronomy and then mesoscale and then another thing. And so every 3 years it would go.
Did you have to take astronomy?
No, I didn't have to, but it filled up. Everybody took astronomy.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like I couldn't get in even if I tried. And it was taught by my Met professor.
Got it. Checks out.
I couldn't get in.
Checks out.
But I also didn't want in either. It's astronomy. So, yeah.
So there you go. Beyond the Forecast live streaming podcast every Tuesday, 10 a.m. Mainly every Tuesday, 10 a.m. We will get back to those here very shortly. It's just right now we are very jumbled when it comes to our schedule and also priming for that move. But thank you so much for joining us here on Beyond the Forecast. I am Chief Meteorologist Michael Stevens for Meteorologist John Gross and Meteorologist Haley Fischetti. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will be right back here at 4:30 tomorrow with more science and weather for you and talking about fronts. Cold fronts, warm fronts, stationary fronts, occluded fronts, dry lines, we'll have it all. We'll explain it. Meteorology 101 for you. That's tomorrow, 4:30 on your Wednesday. Be good, stay safe, take care. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye, everybody.